All right, Shalom Akim Shalom. Hey, Yabashima Shah Barakathum. To my dear brothers out there, you let them out and sisters, worshiping the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, in spirit and in truth. Before I start, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai and double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops of the great millstone. All right, welcome back to another GMS Inspiration of the Almighty. And as you can see the title, Jeremiah was saved from the pit. The elect will be saved from the pit. Jeremiah was saved from the pit. The elect will be saved from the pit. All right. And in this lesson, what I want to do is go over the story on how the Heavenly Father delivered the prophet Jeremiah out of the well. He was lowered down into a muddy well where he was sinking in mud, a miry pit, and the Heavenly Father basically delivered Jeremiah. And that was an example on what the Heavenly Father is going to do today with delivering the elect from the pit. And what is the modern day pit? That's America. Okay, in the scriptures, another word for land, countries, is another word is a pit. Like when in reference in Revelations, the 20th chapter, and it talks about the bottomless pit. It's in reference to a land, and that land in the Revelations is Europe. So currently the elect is found in the pit of America. And just as the Heavenly Father saved Jeremiah from the pit, he's going to save the elect from the pit. All right. So I find it funny too. Before we start, I find it funny because Apostle Ramlab, he was going into this a little bit earlier in his live show, and me and the brother Dawah, we was talking about chapter like 38 through 41, and when I seen the Apostle do the show, I was like, damn, that's crazy. So we're gonna just kind of do a lot of reading here. I'm gonna go through chapters if the Lord will. And just freshen up. If you don't know about what happened in the actual scriptures, Lord willing, this open you up to it. And if you haven't read over it in a minute, you get refreshed. So this is one of those type of lessons. So let's get into this thing. We're gonna start right at Jeremiah 38:1. It says, then Shephatiah, the son of Mattan, and Gedaliah, the son of Pashur, and Jucal, the son of Shalama, and Pashur, the son of Malchiah, heard the words that Jeremiah had spoken unto all the people, saying. So we know that when you read the book of Jeremiah, he was a prophet the Lord raised up to basically prophesy against our own people and against the nations. He was just an all around prophet. And our people, the wicked of our people, they didn't like the fact that Jeremiah was prophesying against them, because starting from the king on down, they wanted to do it their way. All right. Jeremiah was prophesying to them that they had to submit to the will of the Lord. And one of the submissions was that they would have to submit to the Babylonians. And they were not trying to hear that. They were still trying to do it how they want to do it, starting with the king of Judah. All right. It says, thus saith the Lord, he that remaineth in the city shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goeth forth to the Chaldees shall live, for he shall have his life for a prey, and shall live. So that's what Jeremiah was telling them. Look, the will of the Lord is that you have to submit to the Chaldeans, which is a sect of the Babylonians. You have to submit to the Chaldeans, submit to the Babylonians, and you will be able to live. All right? But the Lord is going to bring upon the city of Judah, the southern kingdom, the Israelites that remain in the land. He was going to bring the sword upon them, famine and pestilence. And he did so partially by using the Babylonians. The Lord used judgment on them. It says, thus saith the Lord, this city shall surely be given into the hand of the king of Babylon's. This city shall surely be given into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which shall take it. Therefore the princes said unto the king, We beseech thee, let this man be put to death, for thus he weakened the hands of the men of war that remaineth in the city, and the hands of the people, and speaketh such words unto them. For this man seeketh not the welfare of this people, but the hurt. So what Jeremiah was, he was going through a battle. He was going through the battle, the princes, the men that was like the council of the king. He was going through a battle with them because they didn't want to listen to Jeremiah. Even though Jeremiah had the words of the Heavenly Father. But they were telling the king that Jeremiah was coming in a spirit of weakening the hands of the men of war that remained in the city. You see? So Jeremiah was fighting against the wicked of our people, the wicked princes of Judah, or which, when I'm saying Judah, is the southern kingdom back then. And the king was caught in the pickle between his counselors, his princes, and Jeremiah, the word of the Lord. Now we know the scriptures say, cursed be the man that trusteth in men. You know, if the Heavenly Father is giving you a message, you know, it's for all of us to follow it. You know what I mean? But you could easily be caught up in what the people think, just as wicked King Saul got caught up in what the people think. But you have to always remember as well that, remember the prophecy of Daniel, the Heavenly Father had kingdoms that will rise and that will fall. And the first kingdom was Babylon. So the Lord was with the Babylonians to take over. And that included his people, because it was a part of the judgment for the wickedness that our people were doing in the land. So you have them princes fighting against Jeremiah, which they was fighting against the word of the Lord. All right. Real quick, let me put my phone on do not disturb. Verse 5 says, Then Zedekiah the king said, Behold, he is in your hand, for the king is not he that can do anything against you. Then took they Jeremiah and cast him into a dungeon of Milcah, the son of Himelech, that was in the court of the prison. And they let down Jeremiah with cords into the dungeon. There was no water but mire, so Jeremiah sunk in the mire. So that's why, you know, you hear us brethren talk about Jeremiah being in the pit, because literally he truly got led down into a pit of where there was no water but mire. And mire is mud. All right, let me read this very same verse in a different translation, in the NLT. It says, So the officials took Jeremiah from his cell and lowered him by ropes into an empty cistern in the prison yard. So in other words, like a well, an empty well that's deep. It says it belonged to Milcah, a member of the royal family. There was no water in the cistern, but there was a thick layer of mud at the bottom, and Jeremiah sank into it. So that's pretty jacked up, you know. Here it is. This guy truly have the word of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. And for that, he was persecuted. And he got put into some mud. So you know how uncomfortable that will feel? You know? Just when you get mud on your clothes, you like, oh, you instantly vexed. How about sinking in some mud? You know, like a quicksand, you know? A muddy surface. And you know, hey brothers, you know, for doing what we doing for Yahweh Shem Shai, this is how people react to it. They wanna see hurt upon you. Alright, because they want to do it their way. You know? So, you know, brethren, we're gonna be getting these type of persecutions, but as you read further, we're gonna see the Lord was with Jeremiah though. It says, Now when Ebed-Melech the Ethiopian, one of the eunuchs which was at the king's house, heard that they had put Jeremiah in the dungeon, the king then sitting in the gate of Benjamin, Ebed-melech went forth out of the king's house and spake to the king, saying, My lord, the king, these men have done evil in all that they have done to Jeremiah the prophet, whom they have cast into the dungeon. And he is like to die for hunger in the place where he is, for there is no more bread in the city. So here it is. The Lord put the spirit on this Israelite foreigner. He was Ebed-melech, but he was an Israelite foreigner from Ethiopia. All right, that's what he was. The Lord put the spirit on this man to inquire about Jeremiah. So in other words, Lord, brothers, it's the same thing that's going to happen with us. We're going to be getting put in all type of crazy scenarios, but the Lord going to be putting spirits on certain people to be on our behalf. Because truly, in all actuality, we ain't do nothing but tell the truth, man. All Jeremiah did was tell the truth. That's it. But you know, as Paul said it, I believe, have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? All right. So it goes on further to say, then the king commanded Ebed-melech the Ethiopian, saying, Take from thence 30 men with thee, and take up Jeremiah the prophet out of the dungeon before he die. So if they would have left Jeremiah in that pit, he would have died there. But you think the Lord would allow that to happen to his messenger? You think the Lord going to allow that to happen to his elect today? No. It says, so Abimelech took the man with him and went into the house of the king under the treasury, and took thence old cast cloths of old rotten rags, and let them down by a cord into the dungeon to Jeremiah. And Abimelech, the Ethiopian, said unto Jeremiah, Put now these old cast cloths of rotten rags under thy armholes, under the cords. And Jeremiah did so. And they drew up Jeremiah with cords and took him out of the dungeon. And Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison. So the Lord delivered him out of that. You had those wicked princes that wanted to just see Jeremiah dead because he was prophesying the right thing. They seen what Jeremiah was saying. They were seeing as it being weak. But no, it wasn't being weak. It was the word of the Lord. So, brethren, you can see by teaching the truth, you're going to have not just the world, the heathen, but our people coming up against you. And they're going to want to see things like you getting put in dungeons, or, you know, you getting locked away in prison, or you getting some type of crazy sentence come upon you. You know? It says, verse 14, it says, Then Zedekiah the king sent and took Jeremiah the prophet unto him in the third entry that is in the house of the Lord. And the king said unto Jeremiah, I will ask thee a thing, hide it not from me. Then Jeremiah said unto Zedekiah, If I declare it unto thee, wilt thou not surely put me to death? And if I give thee counsel, wilt thou not hearken unto me? So Jeremiah is like, man, bro, come on, man. You know, Jeremiah ain't got no time to be playing with the king, man. The king is just not listening. He like, look, if I tell you the truth, you're going to kill me. If I give thee counsel, you ain't going to listen to me. Right? It says, So Zedekiah the king swears secretly unto Jeremiah, saying, As the Lord liveth, that made us this soul, I will not put thee to death, neither will I give thee into the hand of these men that seek thy life. It says, Then said Jeremiah unto Zedekiah, Thus saith Yahweh, the God of hosts, the God of Israel, If thou wilt surely go forth unto the king of the Babylonians princes, then thy soul shall live, and this city shall not be burned with fire, and thou shalt live in thy house. So he told him, he's still telling him the same thing he started off with. You need to submit to the will of the Lord, truly. He thinking about it's the submission to the Babylonians, but no, it's the submitting to the will of the Lord. As I stated a little earlier, Daniel, the prophet, spoke about the kingdoms that would rise and fall. And the Babylonians was the head of gold, okay, that would rise first. It says, but if thou wilt not go forth to the king of the Babylonians princes, then shall the city be given into the hand of the Chaldeans, and they shall burn it with fire, and thou shalt not escape out of their hand. And Zedekiah the king said unto Jeremiah, I am afraid of the Jews that are fallen to the Chaldeans, lest they deliver me into the hands, and they mock me. So truly the king, he was caught in a pickle in his mind. He was more scared about what the Jews would do to him, the southern kingdom men, his princes. He was more scared about what his princes would do to him than what the Lord would do to him. You know? It says, but Jeremiah said, they should not deliver thee. Obey, I beseech thee, the voice of the Lord. That is a crucial thing that Jeremiah told the king. Obey, I beseech thee, the voice of the Lord. That's where it's at. Obeying the voice of the Lord, and you won't have the trouble that our minds, you know, the scenarios our minds can put us in. You won't have that trouble if you obey the voice of the Lord. The king thought that the men would mock him, and they would do harm to him. But obeying the voice of the Lord, Jeremiah trying to tell him, they're not going to be able to do nothing. It says, which I spake unto thee, so it shall be well unto thee, and thy soul shall live. Jeremiah told him the right thing to do, and told him not to worry about those dudes. It says, if thou refuse to go forth, this is the word that the Lord has showed me. And behold, all the women that are left in the king of Judah's house shall be brought forth to the king of the Babylonian princes. And those women shall say, thy friends have set thee on and have prevailed against thee. Thy feet are sunk in the mire, and they are turned away back. So shall they bring out all of thy wives and thy children to the Chaldeans, and thou shalt not escape out of their hands, but shall be taken by the hand of the king of Babylon, and thou shalt cause this city to be burned with fire. So Jeremiah tell him, look, if you don't do it, this is what the consequences that the Heavenly Father has showed me. You're going to lose your woman. The woman going to be speaking against you to the king of Babylon. You're going to lose your woman, your children. And then the city will be burned with fire. Let's see what the king says. It says, then said Zedekiah unto Jeremiah, let no man know these words, and thou shalt not die. But if the princes hear that I have talked with thee, and they come unto thee, and say unto thee, declare unto us now what thou hast said unto the king, hide it not from us, and we will not put thee to death. Also, what the king said unto thee. So the king didn't want Jeremiah to speak on what they talked about, because the princes, they were such an evil spirit on them. They were ready to put the king to death if the king said something wrong. But you have to remember the time that, you know, the southern kingdom was dealing with was a very oppressive and pressure. It was a lot of pressure. They had the Babylonians getting ready to invade. The king caught in a pickle. Jeremiah the prophet speaking the word of the Lord. They don't want to do it. So it was just a lot of confusion everywhere. So the king is caught like, damn, my man had killed me. But the Jeremiah is telling me this. See, man, the best thing for us all is to just obey the voice of the Lord. Forget putting our trust in man. All right? The scriptures say, Samuel said, it is better to obey than to sacrifice. It's better to obey. That's just what it is. So let's go on further. It says, then shalt thou say unto them, I presented my supplications before the king, that he would not cause me to return to Jonathan's house to die there. Then came all the princes unto Jeremiah and asked him, and he told them according to these words that the king had commanded. So they left off speaking with him, for the matter was not perceived. So the king knew that them Jakes was going to basically try to get Jeremiah to tell them what he told onto the king. And the king already had it planned to tell him this. And Jeremiah did it. And them niggas didn't find out. It says, so Jeremiah abode in the court of the prison until the day that Jerusalem was taken. And he was there when Jerusalem was taken. All right, so let's read on to the next chapter. So we see in that 38th chapter, that the Heavenly Father saved him out of that pit. Yeah, he had to, Jeremiah had to suffer what he had to suffer for, being in the pit, feeling the nasty mud and being alone and cold or whatever that affliction caused. But the Lord didn't forget him. The Lord, truly, Jeremiah being in that pit was a test to see if he was really obedient to the word of the Lord. So the same thing will apply to us. It's truly going to be a test in any affliction that we undergo in this current pit, the slavery in America. But remember, brethren, the Lord put the spirit on a eunuch to deliver Jeremiah. Just when you thought he would die in there, the Lord sent the eunuch to speak on his behalf. The Lord put the spirit on somebody else to help him. And that's what definitely going to happen with the elect. The Lord going to be putting spirits on certain people to help us, man. The Lord going to be sending his angels to help us. And ultimately, the Lord going to send his son Yahushua to help us and deliver us up in chariots. Now, when you read the 39th chapter, it tells you the conclusion of what Jeremiah was speaking here. So we have Jeremiah 39:1. It says, and in the 9th year of Zedekiah, king of Judah, in the 10th month, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his army against Jerusalem, and they besieged it. And in the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the 4th month, in the 9th day of the month, the city was broken up. So you see that, as it said there, in the 9th year of Zedekiah, Nebuchadnezzar besieged the city, and then in the 11th year, the city was broken up. So that was a 2-year siege. You see how long back then a nation was besiege you? It'd be years. And they'll wait for your water to run out, your food to run out. And then they'll capture you. It says, and all the princes of the city of Babylon came in and sat in the middle gate. Even Nagal Sharazar, Shem Garnebo, Sarshim, Rabsaris, Nargal Sharazar, Rabmeg, with all the residue of the princes of the king of Babylon. So these Babylonians was in there. All right. The mighty princes, the captains, and everything, they besieged the place and they were in there. It says, and it came to pass that when Zedekiah the king of Judah saw them and all the men of war, then they fled and went forth out of the city by night, by the way of the king's garden, by the gate betwixt the two walls, and he went out of the way of the plain. But the Chaldeans' army pursued after them, so that the king tried to flee secretly by night. But the Chaldeans' army pursued him. He couldn't get away because remember what we read in Jeremiah 38, that Jeremiah told the king, you will not be able to escape. So the Lord had the spirit on the Chaldeans to be like an eagle eye and watching every corner to see if the king will flee or anybody will flee. And they after the king now, after he tried to flee. It says, and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. And when they had taken him, they brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, to Riblah, in the land of Hamath, where he gave judgment upon him. Then the king of Babylon slew the sons of Zedekiah in Riblah before his eyes. Also the king of Babylon slew all the nobles of Judah. The conclusion was that they didn't listen what the Lord spoke through Jeremiah. So the Lord slew his sons, the king's sons, right before his face. That was a very painful scene for the king. And then he slew all the nobles of Judah, all them jakes, them princes that were talking against Jeremiah, that threw him in the pit. The Lord judged them. Everybody that come up against the modern day elect, the Lord gonna judge them too, man. These are the story that let us know, like, don't trip. These people that come up against you, they've been doing this stuff. They did it to Jeremiah. They did it to Daniel. They did it to Ezekiel. They did it to all the prophets that came before us. They did it to everybody, and the Lord always got them. And the Lord gonna get those who come up against us today. Lord willing, I'm a part of that number, man. But this is the story we got to remember. These are the stories. So the Lord killed all them jakes. It says, moreover, he put out Zedekiah's eyes. Then the Lord, after the king killed his sons before his eyes, the Lord had the king of Babylon take his eyes out of his head. You see how the Lord would do you? The king should have just listened. And what did Jeremiah tell him? If he would have listened, that he would have saved his soul. Everything would have been good. But he didn't. And now he done lost his sons, his nobles, and his eyes. It says, and bound him with chains, put him in chains with no eyes, to carry him to Babylon, and made him a slave there. He was there, a slave there with no eyes. After he seen his empire basically fall. That's some painful stuff, man. It says, and the Chaldeans burnt the king's house and the house of the people, with fire, and break down the walls of Jerusalem. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, carried away captive into Babylon the remnant of the people that remained in the city, and those that fell away, that fell to him, with the rest of the people that remained. But Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, left the poor of the people which had nothing in the land of Judah, and gave them vineyards and fields of the same time. So the captain of the guard, Nebuzaradan, he carried away Jake into captivity. But what he did do, he left the poor of Judah, all the ones that was poor, that was looked down upon, probably struggling and, going through the hardships. Nebuzaradan, he left them there and gave them vineyards. They instantly became prosperous in a moment, showing you the Lord was with the poor of them people. Them poor had to have some type of humility to them. The Lord didn't even allow them to get pawned off, but he left them there and gave them vineyards. Obviously, those poor had some type of humility spirit about them. So us brethren, we got to have that humility, and remember what it says in James 2:5, that the Lord have chosen the poor of this world rich in faith. We in a low estate now, brothers. We are on a very low estate, a very poor state. And that's why, the Lord is dealing with us though. We have the faith. We believe. He dealing with us. And in a sudden, we gonna have vineyards and fields, just as those poor that got left in the land. We just got to keep continuing obeying the voice of the Lord. Verse 39, Jeremiah 39:11, it says, now Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, gave charge concerning Jeremiah to Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, saying, take him and look well to him, and do no harm. Do him no harm, but do unto him even as he shall say unto thee. So Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, sent, and Nebuchadnezzar, Rabsaris, and Nargashazar, Rabmag, and all the king of Babylon princes, even they sent and took Jeremiah out of the court of the prison, and committed him unto Gedaliah, the son of Achim, the son of Shaphan, that he should carry him home. So he dwelt among the people. So here it is, Jeremiah, he suffered all what he suffered from the wicked Israelites. And the Heavenly Father had Nebuchadnezzar give charge to take care of him, take well of him, get him out of the prison, carry him out of the prison, and listen to him, do well by him. So at the end of the day, Jeremiah, the Lord was with Jeremiah. All right, he's being treated, he's being catered to right here. So doing the word of the Lord at the end of the day, brethren, we're gonna be catered to. The Lord gonna be there for us. But all those jakes who didn't listen and didn't obey, that don't obey actually, and don't listen and don't obey, they're gonna be killed off like the princes of Judah. All right. Verse 15, it says, now the word of the Lord came unto Jeremiah while he was shut up in the court of the prison, saying, go and speak to Abimelech the Ethiopian, saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will bring my words upon this city for evil and not for good, and they shall be accomplished in a day before thee. But I will deliver thee in that day, saith the Lord, and thou shalt not be given into the hand of the men of whom thou art afraid. For I will surely deliver thee, and thou shalt not fall by the sword. But thy life shall be for a prey unto thee, because thou hast put thy trust in me, saith Yahweh. That 18th verse right there, man, I love that verse. It became one of my favorite verses, like, after I read this last night. That 18th verse right there is powerful. Now remember, Abimelech, Ebed-Melech, the Ethiopian, he was the one the Lord put the spirit on to save Jeremiah out of the pit. And he reaped what he sowed in righteousness. The Lord put the spirit on Jeremiah to tell him, look, when these Babylonians come in, you ain't got to be afraid of them. But he said, I will surely deliver thee. Check this 18th verse out. This verse is powerful. It says, for I will surely deliver thee, and thou shalt not fall by the sword. This is the part I like the most. But thy life shall be for a prey unto thee, because thou hast put thy trust in me, saith the Lord. Now let's read that same verse in the NLT version. It says, because you trusted me, I will give you your life as a reward. Brethren, because we trust in Yahweh Shema Shai, our life will be a reward unto us. The Lord going to save our life as a reward. We're going to be seeing many lose their life, but the Lord will save our life for a reward unto us. And just as Yahweh Shai spoke it, he that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. So our life gonna be a reward unto us. You see how these people nowadays, they're trying to save their life. They prepping. They're doing everything they can to save their life, but they're not doing the right thing, which is obeying the voice of the Lord. But Abimelech did that. He saved Jeremiah, and the Lord promised him, because you trusted me, I will give you your life as a reward, and I will rescue you and keep you safe. I, the Lord, have spoken. Woo! One of my favorite new scriptures. And I pray to Yahweh Shema Shai that, you know, I'm a part of that number of you brothers that's out there in sincerity and in truth. We are part of that number that trust in the Lord, and he will save our life as a reward and keep us safe, rescue us and keep us safe. So yeah, brothers, hey, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, I pretty much tagged everything, just kind of reading through that. And I pray that was edifying to you brothers and sisters out there, just kind of refreshing up you brethren that haven't read that in a minute. And to the ones that have never read that, you know, there we go for you. The Lord delivered Jeremiah out of the pit. You know, Jeremiah seen his enemies fall. Jeremiah warned them. And we're doing the exact same thing as Jeremiah. And you best believe we're going to have the same results as Jeremiah. So with that, I'm going to close it out by giving all praises to the creator of the heavens and the earth, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom Akim Step. Shalom.